They say, "My name is Ethan Morgan, and I am from the United States. This is my friend's story, which he sent to me. This story is from Chicago, Illinois. This is the story of my friend. There was a shoe factory there where he used to work, and this story is from 1972. The name of the person who narrated this to me is Daniel Carter. He still lives in New York. Now, this is for sure the story of 1972. Now he has grown old. He was young at that time when he narrated the story of his life, which took place in the suburbs of Chicago in 1972. He said that in those days he used to live in Lincoln Square, Chicago. There was a shoe factory where some friends used to work, but Daniel was a friend among friends. He was cheerful, always had a smile on his face, a jokester, a friend to all. Any gathering was incomplete without him. If Daniel didn't show up, the gathering felt dull. Even while working in that shoe factory, Daniel was always busy with his tasks, but whenever he got a break or time off, everyone would gather, and Daniel would be there, making people laugh. He was also a poet, a person full of life. He had a great memory. If he heard a song once, he could remember it perfectly. His voice was melodic, too. He always had a passion for humor, laughter, and mischief. I often miss my childhood friends. I used to joke with them, saying, "One day I will leave this place and become a big star, and when you come to see me, I will be too busy." We laughed about it back then. Time passed quickly, and I eventually entered the world of television, becoming a TV host. I started doing different shows, first in my local area, which became very popular. Comedy shows were loved by everyone, and whenever I returned to my hometown, I would ask about my old friends. Some of them avoided me, thinking I had become too important. When I finally met them, they said, "You've become a big man now." But I told them, "No, I've become very small. I don't have time anymore. I miss you all terribly." Life had become robotic. I woke up, worked, recorded, edited, traveled for shoots, returned home late, bathed, prepared for a live show, and then handled calls until I fell asleep. My only friends now were my cameramen, Kevin Thompson, Mike Adams, Ryan Brooks, and Chris Walker. They became my team, my companions. I missed my old friends deeply, but they believed I had outgrown them. Today, I am in America, reminiscing about those days, missing those childhood moments, the streets, the small parks, the fun we had. Daniel was such a friend, always laughing, reciting poetry, making gatherings lively. If he wasn't present, friends would go looking for him to bring him back. Technology wasn't as advanced in 1972. Back then, people spent time with each other, sharing laughter and stories. Now, people sit in a room with their heads down, staring at their phones. The joy of human connection has faded. In those days, friends were always ready to help each other, even risking their lives if needed. One day, Daniel and his friend decided to watch a movie. The show was at 9:30 p.m. They left their factory, which was located on the outskirts of the city, and waited for the bus. The bus arrived, they boarded, and watched the empty streets pass by. The road led through wooded areas with dense trees on one side and hills on the other. It was a quiet, eerie route, often traveled only by workers. After watching the movie, they stepped out of the theater around midnight. They realized the last bus had already left. Hoping to find a cab, they wandered around, but no rides were available. The only option left was to walk the 7-mile journey home. As they walked, they entered a heavily wooded area. The silence was unsettling. Only the distant sounds of animals and rustling leaves could be heard. The deeper they went, the more they felt like the forest wasn't asleep. Then Daniel's friend suddenly noticed a girl standing by the trees. She was breathtakingly beautiful, dressed in a long white gown, her face glowing under the moonlight. Daniel's friend became mesmerized. The girl smiled at him and beckoned him forward. Daniel immediately grew uneasy. He warned his friend, "Don't go. Something is wrong," but his friend was captivated. "She called me," he said, ignoring Daniel's plea. As the friend moved toward the girl, Daniel saw something terrifying. The girl's smile widened unnaturally, and suddenly she floated into the air. Within seconds, she flew toward Daniel's friend and entered his body. His body convulsed and then collapsed. Panicked, Daniel rushed to his friend's side, shaking him, calling his name. His friend was unresponsive. Desperate, Daniel carried him on his back and hurried home. When they arrived, the family tried to revive him. After a while, he regained consciousness, confused and weak. He didn't remember what had happened. Over the next few days, his friend developed a high fever. Despite medical treatment, he remained eerily silent. At night, his family heard him whispering to someone in his sleep. When they tried to wake him, he seemed to be in another world. On the fourth day, tragedy struck. Daniel went to visit him, only to find the house filled with mourning cries. His friend had passed away in his sleep. His family later revealed that a spiritual expert told them the girl was not human. She had taken his soul. Daniel was devastated. He blamed himself for not stopping his friend from following her. If only they hadn't gone to that movie. If only he had been more forceful in stopping him. But it was too late. The friend had been lost to something beyond human understanding.